and it's show 772. And here we go. It's the Mike Tech Show, show number 772. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Mike Smith. Thank you very much for downloading and subscribing to the show. Please visit the main website at miketechshow.com. You can email me questions and suggestions for show topics at miketechshow@gmail.com. You can leave me a voicemail message on Skype. The name is Mike Tech Show, all one word. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/MikeTechShow, and also facebook.com/MikeTechShow. This show is brought to you by Instant House Call. Remotely support your customers unattended and on demand through firewalls. Try it free by clicking on the link on my website at MikeTechShow.com. Don't forget to use the promo code MikeTechShow for your free 15-day trial. And you can go directly to InstantHouseCall.com to get your trial. I have a big show lined up. I have lots of great stories from the trenches and fixes on problems I've ran into over the last week. And then I'm going to talk about a website that I have not mentioned in a long time. And if you haven't used it or you haven't been going there, it's a great reference site. You're going to love it. And we're going to spend a little time talking about that. So we have OpenVPN fixes, and I had to edit a host file for a solution. But first, I want to talk about something that happened before the show. I have a client with Verizon, Fios. They have 300 meg up and down. They want to do a lot remote. They've been doing a lot. We've migrated a lot of the software to SharePoint in the cloud. Their software is cloud-based. Now their office is moving. And it's moving from one floor to another, from in this big building in Center City, Philadelphia. Here's the issue. The client ordered his own voice over IP with his existing phone provider, and they go back a long way. He knows the owner. So this VoIP service, they need 2 static IP addresses. Now, here's the challenge. Verizon does not, their Verizon connection, they've never had a static IP address before. But they have to get those 2 IP addresses. So we talked to Verizon today, and they told us there's no way they can give us IP addresses with moving the order. That the only way they could do it is if we order it, they could, at the a day before the time of the move, they could give us the IP addresses. Well, they're moving March 1st, so we only have a couple weeks. Now, Verizon can accommodate that, but we got to get those IP addresses in. Plus, they got to port numbers, and they got to start the port. So, long story short, Verizon allows us to order a second service at basically a whole new account at the new suite on the lower floor. And they will allow them to disconnect with no penalty or fees their existing connection. So there'll be an overlap of only about 2 weeks, and it's well worth it because once the order was placed, so they're going to come in next week to the new suite and set up the internet. We're raising it to gigabit up and down, which is phenomenal. I'm so glad they made that decision. And we're going to have that internet. We know it's going to be in the suite and working. They already gave us, I got an email today, for the 5 static IP addresses. I sent 2 of them off to the VoIP company, And the reason I'm not talking about them is I've never worked with this company before for VoIP, and I want to make sure how it goes, if there's any issues, and then talk about them down the road. So keeping my fingers crossed, that's a big move. And my oldest son and my middle son will take care of that in Pennsylvania because I'm down here in Florida. And speaking of which, the snow has been so bad. My heart goes out to everybody up north, and it's certainly everybody in Texas, and what they're going through is just so horrific. And where my house is in Pennsylvania, there's a foot of snow on the ground today and another foot that's going to be added as it's continuing to snow. There has already been 3 feet of snow over the last few storms. This will make 5 feet of snow. If ever there was a time in my life where we made the right decision to spend winter in Florida, boy, was that confirmed. I don't know how I could have dealt with that. So anyway, my prayers, and I hope everybody can stay warm and get through everything. And certainly everybody in Texas, it's just horrible. And hopefully this will end soon and you'll get power back, you'll get water back, and the ice storms will stop. So I had to mention that just because of everything that's going on. So a couple other things. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, I had a problem with my USB ports. And I said, after I get my show posted up, I will check it out. Well, that Thursday night I did. And here's all I did was, first I did a full Acronis backup because I wanted to make sure I had that. I then did my sync back. I made sure all my files, and I created a system restore point because I wasn't taking any chances. Then I unpaused the Windows 10 updates, and there was a big cumulative update for February. And then there was a .NET, and then there was, I think, a couple security updates. I applied them all, rebooted, no issues, all my USB ports work. So what did I do? The only thing I did was run that Intel utility, but again, it didn't do anything with the chipset. It didn't do anything for the USB ports. It was really only updating the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth. It was a great suggestion by Carrie, and I did it, and I really think there was a problem with that cumulative update when I first applied it, and now re-downloading and reapplying it after I had uninstalled it, I think it just went better. Now, something I was almost going to do, and I didn't want to apply more, perform more self-inflicted wounds. I was going to do a BIOS upgrade because there's a new BIOS upgrade from my motherboard, and I was just too cowardly to go apply that. I just couldn't bring myself to download it and put it on a USB stick and boot up. I think I would have done it had I had a problem with the update. I'm always nervous about doing a BIOS upgrade when I don't have to, but I also don't want to get too far away from updates to where I'm currently at. I don't like being too far apart. So not sure if that, obviously it didn't help. I just think the update, there was a problem when I was running it. So I still didn't mind going over all those USB tricks and tips just in case that you run into a problem. So 2 OpenVPN issues last weekend that I had to take care of for clients. The first one, and we don't know how it got corrupt, but the user, and just one user, their Windows 10 OpenVPN client got corrupted. Every time they tried to connect to the VPN, they would get an error in connecting. So the user tried to uninstall it. It kept hanging up, after waiting a long time, and then it would error out. So we couldn't uninstall it. So I'm like, haha, let's run this and do a repair. Same problem. It would take a long time. It would hang up. We get an error. Let's try to reinstall it on top of the install that's there. No joy. So this is why you need Revo Uninstaller Portable. And that is the first link in the show notes for tonight. Revo Uninstaller to the rescue will just rip it out. I downloaded that, and the first thing Revo will do, it will try to use the program's uninstall. Same issue, no joy. But here's the difference. With that failing, you have options for moderate, to look for all of the pieces for that program to remove, or advanced. I picked advanced. I wanted everything removed. Once I picked that, there were a lot of items. I selected all, clicked delete. Then it went to another screen, a lot of registry entries, a lot of directories, a lot of files. Selected all, delete. Went through to the end, it was gone. I rebooted the system. And by the way, I'm doing this all over Instant House Call with the user. Rebooted everything. I was able to reinstall the OpenVPN Windows client with no issue. Was able to import the config file, connect it, no problem. Now, here's another new OpenVPN that was installed for a client, and they were connecting to the peer server that is hosting the software they need to run. They could see everything. One of the things that happened, though, they could not install that, when they installed the software, it could not find the peer server because it kept looking for the name ABC-server. This is going through an untangle firewall. Even though I made a DNS entry, it still cannot find it. So the only way around this, and I was talking with the software manufacturer, tech support, on a Saturday, so I was very glad that I was able to take care of this. Well, the issue, it's not an issue. They told me it has to be that computer's name because that's how it's all set up. And when that software was installed, it reads the name of that system, and that's what you have to address. So I don't like applying this as a solution, but it was a good workaround, and that's edit the hosts file and put a static entry into the hosts file. I will have a link. And what you do is you can take a look at this if you've never edited it before, but I was able to put the actual local static IP address of that system and then put the name, which I'm calling it ABC-server. Once we did that, it worked perfectly. So then I put instructions together. I added the hosts file to an email. I emailed the clients that need to apply that, where I gave them the instructions to take that attached hosts file, copy it to their desktop, and then copy it to the proper folder, which I put that there, System 32, drivers, Etsy, and everybody's working. So a good workaround. I really need to have the conversation with Untangle. How can I pass the DNS? And when in doubt, it's always a DNS issue, as Winston Wolfe and I completely agree on. And actually Marvin B. Well, when you're dealing with networking and there's a problem with anything talking to anything, it's a DNS issue. And here, this was a DNS issue, so we had to force it because the hosts file is the first file that is read before it tries to go to a DNS server to find out where to go with that IP address. That's also a haven for some viruses and for malware. They'll change different, you're trying to go to Amazon or trying to go somewhere, and they kind of take you hostage and send you to a different IP address. So that's why a lot of programs will check the host file. So let's hope they don't run into something where I'm kind of concerned Malwarebytes may look for something, or one of their programs may think that there is a bad entry in the host file and may remove it. So I got to be prepared for that. All right. This is an interesting story. So an admin for one of my clients created an account for the user on the domain controller, and then created the account to be able to scan from two multifunction devices back to the home directory that was created for the user. Okay, hope you're with me. The user wanted to change their password. I did not realize that the copiers are set up, the multifunction devices are set up with that password. So every time the user would scan, and of course it would fail and it wouldn't work, well, after doing it a few times, their account kept getting locked out. And I'd have to unlock the account. I would remote in, instant house call onto the server, and unlock the account. So I finally realized this. And it was two Sharp devices, and I'm familiar with Sharp and the admin interface. So I had to make sure all the passwords were synced. Because if you keep getting locked out, if an account keeps getting locked, there's a device, there's a piece of software, there's something that is banging away trying to log in with the wrong password. And I just had to figure out what it is. And then it finally dawned on me, it's the copier. And actually, at the time, I didn't even know there were two. So they had gotten a second one, and I had to find the IP addresses for both. I was able to log in, and I was able to edit the password to the password we changed it to. And now we solved the scanning back to the home directory share and solved the account being locked. So I just wanted to share that, because this was problems over a couple days last week that finally was able to resolve it. So now I don't know if you are familiar with this website. I talked about this site years ago, and I needed to find something, and this is in my bookmarks. As a matter of fact, now it's on my bookmark toolbar rather than just buried in my bookmarks, and it is called refdesk. So refdesk, refdesk, it's a free and family-friendly website that indexes and reviews quality, credible, and current web resources. So if you go to refdesk, and I'm going to it now, and I'm going to capture my display. When you go to refdesk, you have your internet search resources on the left. So you got Google, you got Bing, Yahoo, YouTube. You can search refdesk, and of course, you got DuckDuckGo. You have a site of the day, and so for right now, NASA's Mars Perseverance rover landing, so you have a nice link for that. You have a fact of the day, the thought of the day, book of the month, article of the day, this day in history. You have more this day in history, today's birthday, Helen Gurley Brown. Wow. More birthdays, famous people. You have pictures from a whole bunch of great sites. But I want to scroll down to where you have the fax search desk. This is where you got Webopedia, Fact Monster, Medical Dictionary, English to Italian, the different translators, English to Spanish, media fact checks, accuracy in media. This is what I really like. The current news, weather, business, sports. You have headlines, the weather. You have AccuWeather Service, CNN weather, FEMA news releases. You have news, ABC, AP, BBC, Bloomberg, Reuters, Sky News, UPI, USA Today, newspapers, all the famous newspapers. My Philadelphia Inquirer is there. Tampa Bay Times is there. New York Post, New York Times. Now, a lot of these newspapers are behind paywalls where you get limited access unless you pay the money. So keep that in mind. You have international news, business news, sports. Could you see this? This combination of links. You have tech news where you have CNET, CNN Technology, ClickZ, Net News, Slashdot, Wired, ZDNet. A refdesk subject categories, beginner's guide, computer software. Here's what got me to come back and find this site. I knew there were lists of great resources and someone needed resources on Linux. So the next link I'm going to have in the show notes is this Linux Sites Guide. This is great. A beginner's guide to Linux, a practical guide to Linux. This is everything you ever wanted to know for Linux. And you don't have to search. You don't have to worry about it. All you can do is go right to refdesk and then come back to refdesk subject categories. What if we want devices and gadgets? Then we have different traffic cams and earth cams, magazines, a list of A to Z, every magazine link that you can think of. This is a great place for resources, computer graphics, computer hardware. Now, the right-hand side, it's too much to even just go over. You need to just play and explore. So one of the things that's really nice here is, hey, there's a section, positive and good news. Then here's news sources, current gas and oil prices, government and economy. Then there's features. This is pretty good. So who is the author behind refdesk? This is the father of, hold on. Oh, I paused the audio. Drudge. Sorry. Okay. This is the father of Matt Drudge from the Drudge Report. Now I don't know if he's passed it on or not for refdesk, but that's who's behind refdesk.com. So it's Matt Drudge's father, and I think he's still doing it. I'm not sure, and I'm gonna click about here, and I don't think it's there, and I don't know if he sold this or if he did anything. So just take a look at this. It's an incredible reference, and it should absolutely be part of your bookmark toolbar. And it's now part of mine, as you can see up there. It's right there, and my toolbar is there on display for everybody, and I don't mind. I have a lot of links on my toolbar, and these are the ones that I go to all the time: DuckDuckGo, Facebook, logins to my website. There's TechVets, Amazon, Libsyn. There's the refdesk. Log me in, Magnus Box. Freedom Voice. I still have that for phone right now. My Synchro, BBM. That's Baseball Manager, by the way. So yes, I'm a baseball fanatic, and I'm in the fantasy league of BBM. So that is refdesk. Let me know what you think of that. I think it's a cool site, and I like doing that from time to time, and just reviewing, cool sites and links that they're going to help you out. And that's what we want. If you buy anything from Amazon, go to the link on my website in the show notes that reads support this show with this Amazon link. Carrie Holzman and I split this and we share it. If you buy anything, come to our site first. Come to the Mike Tech Show or Tech Vets. Click on that link. It'll take you back to Amazon. But now anything you add to the cart, we get a commission when you purchase it. Your price stays the same. That is a great way to help support the show. Also, Fabs Auto Backup 7 Pro is incredible. It is the one piece of software that you can use to copy settings and files from one system to another. Here's another great way of using this. Yesterday at our office, a client dropped off a laptop that was dead. Just dead, and it's old, but he needed everything off the system. My son took the hard drive, took it over to our test system where we have a dock where he just puts it in. The latest version of Fabs is always on there. He runs that and grabs everything because there's 2 profiles. So copying all that would have been a nightmare. Here, it was just click, click, click. He gets it all. I reminded him, I said, look for custom directories off the C drive just in case and just copy them over too. He now copied all of them. It was like 80 gigs of data, and I had a couple 128 gig USBs there. He was able to pop one in, transfer the 80 gig to that. Now they're picking up the laptop that's unusable, the hard drive we've already taken out, and they now have a USB of all the data that they need. Perfect. Fabs to the rescue. Remember our sponsor, Instant House Call. Check that out. Everything I talked about, pretty much every job that I work on or anything I do, that is how I remote in. Instant House Call. That is it for tonight's show. I hope you enjoyed it, and join me next week. Same time, same channel. Stay safe, everybody. Stay warm, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Mike Tech Show, a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. Please visit techpodcast.com.
Well, let's stop.